Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting of Tuesday, August 5th. It is 5:30 p.m. And with a quorum present, we'll call the meeting to order. So first on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment? No. Okay, so we will move to agenda item number 2 then, approval of the minutes from the July 1st and July 22nd, 2025 meetings. Does anyone have any questions, changes, anything? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from those meetings. Okay, motion by Alder Killian, second by anyone? Alder Gisselman? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Motion passes then. Minutes are approved. Item 3 on the agenda, discussion and possible action on approving the quitclaim deed to Wisconsin Central, or from quitclaim deed with Wisconsin Central Limited, 15 Fulton Street, 920 North 1st Street. So, Director Lynch.
Thank you.
Our manager.
Yeah, this is something that came up in the That better? There we
That's my
go.
fault. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll try that again. We'll edit that out, right? So this is something that came up in the process of preparing the site for the Weingard Solhaven proposal. And just during the due diligence process, there's found to be an easement from the railroad still in place. Our attorney Jacobson was able to get a hold of the railroad in a very timely manner and get them to agree to a quick claim on this. So this is kind of a part of a cleanup. We will take a look at this section of former railroad in the future to see if there's any other further hanging easements on other sites that the city owns. But for right now, we can just take care of this bit and allow Weingard to continue their process with their proposal.
Thank you. Questions, comments from any of the committee members? Nope. Oh, Alder Henke.
Yeah, thanks. I'll move to approve the quitclaim deed for 15 Fulton Street, or 920 North 1st Street.
Okay, thank you. And looking for a second. Second by, motion by Alder Henke, second by Alder Killian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Number 4 on the agenda is discussion and possible action on development proposal and sale of city-owned property at 1609 East Boss Creek Drive. Ms. Stratz.
Hello. In your packet, you see that we received another proposal from Habitat to purchase one of our lots. It's at 1609 East Boss Creek. They've been doing some work over there to evaluating to make sure that it would work for one of their one of their houses, and it seems like it will be a good fit. So like previous times, they put in an offer for $1,000. They gave some details of what they're anticipating the house will look like. Obviously, it has to fit for the family that gets chosen. Construction date will start in spring of they want to purchase in spring of 26 with completion of October of 26. This will be another school build one. So Mike is here from Habitat if you have any specific questions. Otherwise.
Questions by any committee members? No? Okay, then looking for a motion to approve. Okay, motion by Alder Tierney, second by Alder Henke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, then that motion passes. Thank you so much. So next up then on the agenda is number 5, discussion and possible action on development proposals for 1019 Bridge Street.
That's me again. We are bringing back the request for qualifications that was approved for us to release, or we did release back in April, and we had 3 contractors that work with the modular and manufactured homes. So of those 3, we requested what would they perceive would be a good building to put at 1019 West Bridge Street, the one that we've been trying to build on for 2-3 years now. Solutions for Affordable Homes was the only one that responded, but they did give us 2 potential options. Both of them are in the packet. Interesting enough, one option was for 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and an attached garage, and the other was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and attached garage, but they both were the same dollar amount. So obviously, it makes more sense to go with the 3-bedroom, and that one also fits on the lot better. When we were looking at it, it made more sense. So they put an approximate price of $240,000. We would like to do a contingency because sometimes there's change orders, like with all construction. Maybe we want to add some shutters, or maybe the insulation they're proposing isn't as good, or just to have some leeway to negotiate with them on some additional things, maybe back off on other areas, but to be able to play with it. So with the 10%, it would bring to $264. And then at the bottom of the memo, it talks about the source of funds. So in this case, we wouldn't even be touching the ARPA funds yet, which is wonderful in my eyes. We can use our program income funds and keep that ARPA for for other properties. And then on the last page, we talked about how we would sell it. Like we had talked before, we're anticipating the sales price to be $140,000, $175,000-ish. But then we would have that second silent mortgage, kind of like what Habitat does, so that they cannot turn around and flip the house and make additional funds. We would hold it, and after 20 years, the total amount would be forgiven. And that would be that gap financing. When we sell the house, whatever's left over will go back into our affordable housing pot so that we can build additional houses. Any questions on that?
Questions by committee members? None? Alder Henke?
Thank you. So we got a proposal. Am I seeing any dates as far as like when they would start, or?
They did have dates in there. We're not going to hold them to it because they submitted this a couple of months ago, and because of the timing of when we received the next ED meeting, and then with council meeting once a month, it kind of seemed to get back up farther than they anticipated. He's been reaching out to me on a monthly basis and asking, where are we at? So it really depends on how fast we can get this approved and then start negotiations. I think he said as far as how long it will take. It takes about, what did he say, 6 to 8 weeks to build?
He has 8 to 12.
But then it also depends on foundation, if we'd even get it poured this year.
I'm seeing it now where it's in. Yep.
Mid-September sooner, yeah, for,
So I'm anticipating we need to back
that's
off
when
those
it'll be completed.
dates a little
Yeah.
bit.
yeah.
It might not happen this year, but
No.
definitely next spring at the latest.
Other questions? Alder Henke?
So I was sitting in a CDA meeting, and they said that they were having issues renting 3 bedrooms or getting 3 bedrooms filled. 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms were going further. I get getting the 3 bedrooms is better. I'm just wondering if there's more demand for a 2-bedroom right now. Any thoughts on that? Anything you're seeing?
The funny part is that when this is the first time we built a house in probably 6 years. And In the past, building a three-bedroom always cost more than a two-bedroom. In resale, a three-bedroom's better than two bedrooms. And since the price is the same, why would we want to do the three-bedroom? I think with resale is a little bit different than rental, just because you might have a single person buy it, but the potential of having a family later on down the road, then they can grow into it. Versus, renting is a shorter time frame. This one, we're hoping that they'll live in it 10, 15, 20 years, because that mortgage is going to sit out there for 20 years. So hopefully they'll have room to have a family.
I think
Or
ano-
not.
I think another important piece in looking at the proposals that were submitted, just the lot layouts and how they fit. The three-bedroom fits on the lot, meeting setbacks, where I don't believe the two-bedroom layout does. It's a 60-foot wide lot. It's a rather skinny lot. The design for that three-bedroom works out better in terms of zoning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alder Killian.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Tammy that in the real estate business, a three-bedroom is a far better proposition than a two-bedroom. They sell much, much more quickly. So I agree with you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Well, and I'm wondering if in the rental, I don't know, and I don't know if they brought this up, but I wonder if three bedrooms are more, you know what I mean? Like people, if more one and two, I don't know, may not have anything to do with anything, but
Yeah, the rental world's a little different than what it used to be. I know the one-bedrooms are in more demand now than what it ever used to be. Just a different animal.
any other questions by committee members? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to, what would that be then, to approve the development proposal?
So that we can move forward with it.
Okay, so
make a
motion by
motion.
Alder Tierney,
I'll make a motion to move forward with development of the three-bedroom.
and second by Alder Killian. So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, motion approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Number 6 on the agenda, discussion and possible action on revision of the property disposition policy by ED manager, sorry, I had it wrong before, Lynch. Sorry about that.
I'll just kind of tee this up a little bit too. We've been talking about the deposition policy for some time and internally talking through different ways that we want to amend it, really to make it more clear. The existing policy jumps around a lot in terms of different properties, and trying to find a way that we can refine it to make it more clear just for everybody involved in the process. So this is our attempt at that. We're not looking for any approvals today on it, just looking for your feedback on this, and we'll bring this back in the form of an amended policy, probably at your September meeting. Before we did that, we wanted to just touch base with you to make sure that we're on the right lines. If there's anything that you see that you think warrants some revisions, so we can bring back as finalized of a draft document as we can for your next meeting. So turn it over to Andy.
Couldn't have said it better. Yep, so really, we're looking at two things, and that's the current property disposition policy, which was included as the last item in your packet, and then as well the ordinance, which is 31240, and making sure that those two, we were pulling the correct information out of those, and that we were doing everything we were allowed and not doing more than we could. But looking at our current property disposition program, our policy, one thing that immediately stuck out is we probably need to rename it, because it also dealt with acquisition. So not just disposition, but as well as acquisition. So if we kind of just start off renaming that as far as the property redevelopment program, it'll be a little bit more all-encompassing. We don't have to come up with a completely separate policy for acquisition. And kind of the goals that we pulled out of this, and definitely looking for your input on these, is to grow the tax base, provide housing, fulfill community needs, assist low-income individuals or entities, find the best use for a particular property, the best fit with the surrounding area, and particular to industrial properties, grow the business campus. So I'm not going to go through this every single point, but we did, going through this for the disposition of properties, we looked at this and kind of identified four main types of properties that we deal with. The first one being the industrial park. And so that's land in the Wausau Business Campus. And those are zoned industrial and commercial, designed to support businesses and job creation. And so with each of these types in this, in the memo we've provided, there's a description of that type of land, how it's offered, and the selection criteria that we currently use on, for when we actually do dispose of property. So we do have a standard rate per acre for industrial park land, and that is something that's negotiated with staff and the purchaser, and then that's brought to ED and council for approval on both the sale and the price. Then we go to large lots, mostly residential. Commercial is, per the ordinance, commercial is still an option for that, but that's not really been the case in the city's past here. So this is going to be something that's going to be a larger development. Best examples of this most recently are West Side Commons and 700 Grand, where they're, those parcels are about an acre, 1.15 acres, and the developments on there are, as defined, larger than a 4-unit non-owner occupied housing development. So we do have those, at times listed on the city website. There have been signs on properties, but we also promote those during development tours. So I think at least once a year, there's a tour organized by various groups that brings developers through the area. Sometimes it's just the Wausau area, sometimes it's wider as far as Stevens Point and beyond. And properties are shown throughout the area to try to solicit some interest and bring some of that development in. But ultimately, this type of property is disposed of through the RFP process. And that's something where this committee has a lot of control as far as being able to help shape the document, shape the scoring criteria for the proposals, and ultimately selection of the proposals. So we did part of this recently with the RFI document for North 2nd Street. So whether it's an RFI or RFQ or RFP, it's all the same basic process. Then we come to single residential infill. So these are residential lots. Infill, obviously, they're within the city already, and they often have challenges due to environmental issues, floodplain, access issues. Some other locations just makes them less desirable. Also, other times we've also gotten them from tax delinquencies. And so we have those listed on the city website. Shannon, would you be able to pull up that section of our website? Sorry, I should have prepped you on that. We'll give her a minute on that, but we've made flyers for each individual property, and have those on there as well. That has kind of a sale flyer, right? I'm sure you probably did very similar things in your real estate time, right? Having the relevant information on there, and then we can get to that in a second. And then we also have on there a form that an interested person can fill out, and they have to provide some of the basic information as outlined in our policy. And okay, we're almost there. Yep, residential. Okay, so you can see the properties listed there: 424 Burns, 1609 Boss Creek Drive, and each one of those links to a flyer for each of those. But Shannon, let's go to the fillable PDF for interested. No, yeah. So then interested parties can fill this out. We do encourage, even before they do this, that they go ahead and contact us and talk with us about what they're thinking of. But when they get to the point where they're interested enough, they go ahead and fill this out. And from that, we can, take that in, kind of process it and say, okay, there's enough information here to really get into this. Or we've gotten a couple in where we have to reach back out to them and ask for some more information. Maybe it's not complete or it's not complete enough. So that is available for the single residential infill parcels. And then there's a fourth type where it's undesirable for redevelopment purposes. So it may be a remnant of a parcel that, for various reasons came to be that way. And that's something where we don't necessarily advertise those, but they are available if you're an adjoining property owner. You can look it up on our GIS system and see that it's city-owned. We do give, it's noted that considerations given to the neighboring property owner. Obviously, in that case, it kind of makes a lot of sense just to add a little bit on. And that price is set by the city assessor, and obviously that goes through ED and council. Now, the distinction being is if that remnant parcel or undevelopable parcel was acquired initially for redevelopment purposes. If it was for a street project or infrastructure, something like that, it goes through the infrastructure committee. And then on our final item we've touched on here is just highlighting again the properties utilizing restricted funds. So restricted funds would be federal funding, kind of the funding structure that Tammy pointed out for the Boss Creek. Those requirements are much more stringent than what the city can have, our city does have. And so we want to make sure that we abide by everything that's required for those funds. And then also just to point out with, if the city develops a property and sells it to a low-income individual, that sale does not have to go through the committee and council process, because we don't want to highlight highlight a person that may be low income, be able to still have them acquire that property without having their name all over the place. So, all those sales are part of the annual city audits and the federal monitoring documents to follow those applicable guidelines. So there's still that kind of check into that in place with that. So that was a lot of talking by me, and I'm sure you've had a little time to absorb the document. Definitely looking for any kind of feedback, thoughts, inputs, or questions. And I'll just let you kick it off.
Alder Killian.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yes, ma'am.
was this revision thoroughly reviewed by the city attorney before it was put into the packet? And the reason I asked is normally we'll see additions or changes highlighted, and it was kind of difficult digging through this to see what's different than the first one. So has this thoroughly been reviewed by the city attorney yet?
No, ma'am. Again, this is really what you're seeing here is what the policy is currently. A lot of it's just reformatting it and trying to make it more clear. If you read through the current one, just in its formatting and kind of the wording of some of these, there are certain things which seem overlapping. So we tried to clarify, going back to the ordinance, and clarify more specifically what is allowed, what is required, and what is needed. So.
Well, if you're looking for suggestions, because you're going to bring it back,
Yeah.
I really would like to see the changes, additions, deletions highlighted so that we can have a better sense of clarification of what you're doing. And then also, I wanted to ask, when you bring it back, could we get something from the ED committee that says how the changes are going to affect the city-owned properties? If they will affect them, or how they will affect them, the processes, the committees, and so forth? Just so we can have a real clear understanding of what any changes will cause.
So if there's any process or fiscal
Or
impacts?
committee change, yep.
Or committee
If there's a
change.
process change or anything.
Okay.
And then I was curious, and it's probably more from a real estate perspective, but for example, take the property on Wyatt Street. I know it's ideal to have somebody purchase that whole property and do a development on there. But if there are 3 city-owned lots, whenever we have city-owned lots and they're priced individually, why can't, I know it says that you will sell a parcel or a parcel that can't be developed to to a neighbor, for example. What if a neighbor wanted to buy outright a parcel or a lot to build a garage or to build something on it? Is that not doable? I mean, since they're priced individually, I know we
Sure.
like to build our tax base, but
Yeah.
is there a reason that that can't be done?
Well, the first reason would be is you can't have an accessory structure alone on the property.
Would be what?
An accessory structure. So a garage being a great example, right? So if someone bought an adjoining lot and said, I just want to put a garage there. Well, it's still a separate lot, and that's an accessory, and by definition, accessory is not the primary. And so there's no primary building on that lot, it's just an accessory one. So it would be not allowed by our zoning code. And now if they wanted to go through, I guess, the process of combining all the parcels and everything, and then they have a deal with it, do they have too many accessory buildings? But that's a different story. But then I think it really kind of goes back to, what we had at the beginning of that memo were the goals of the policy as far as, is it the best use? Does it fulfill, does it provide, housing? Is it, the best fit for the area? I think it falls under some of those other goals as well. So, I think I would be much more interested to see if there's some other proposals out there before getting to something like an accessory building.
But I had that question posed to me, so I wanted to know if that wasn't a possibility.
Yeah, I think there's some hurdles there. But,
Alder Killian, I would also say that ultimately that's the decision of the committee and the council.
Yeah.
They could submit a proposal on that, and there's a lot of work to get to that point with the property line adjustments and things. As Andy pointed out, the goals in here in terms of increasing property value, best use. So I'd expect that there'd be a significant increase in what they're going to pay for that property to offset that lack of tax base that's going to be generated in the future. Those are all things that can be weighed as part of that process, but ultimately it comes down to the committee's decision on, when proposals are brought forward. There's nothing saying that somebody couldn't bring a proposal like that forward, but keep in mind that would have to be a lot of contingencies on, accepting that. And real estate contingencies always aren't the greatest thing to have.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Alder Hinkie.
Thank you. I know how we've ran into issues with larger lots and residential, or especially larger lots for residential, and utilities and finding things. I know it's on our checklist to verify it. I just wonder if industrial park and larger lots should go through infrastructure still, maybe not for approval, maybe just as like a discussion, or somewhere put in here that we need to talk with engineering and make sure we cross those T's and dot those I's. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think, when we get a proposal for a building on a on a particular parcel in business park, that's the capacity of the utilities is definitely something they would have a question about, and that's definitely where we check with engineering. But in the business campus itself, it's pretty well defined where the utilities are because it's relatively new construction. The ones you've pointed out, I think any engineer will tell you, you never really know what's in there until you open up the ground. There's years and years of legacy utilities and foundations and buildings that could be down there. And here, we are trying to stay ahead of that with a little bit more thorough, like a pre-RFP process where we are getting the best information possible before we put out a RFP or any kind of other document. So.
Oh, yeah, and maybe that's where that lives, but just a thought I had. I don't want to forget about that.
And Alder, I think you bring up a good point too. It's a balance of time as well.
Yeah.
Typically we're bringing an RFI forward like we did for North 2nd Street. Andy, what do you say we started that process 4 or 5 months earlier?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are going on, internal meetings, going through, working with engineering, utilities, and all the thing that you don't necessarily get to see until it gets brought forward. As we've learned through the process, we're continually trying to refine that process as new things come up, and one day we'll get completely ahead of everything, but I'll be happy when we get there. But it's a process.
I'm with you guys 100%. I'm the last one that wants to add another cog to the wheel, but I know how it was on our list. We came up with that list 3 years ago about a checklist for all the properties that we're looking to, and maybe it's covered there, and that's fine with me. But I just don't want us to lose sight of that.
And Shannon, I'm going to ask you to do one more thing on the fly. If you could pull up the business campus map.
Oh, yes. Very good.
So this is actually super fresh to our website in terms of, some revisions that were recently completed that. Our former map just kind of had property layout on it. I believe it's...
Do we not get that linked?
I saw it on here earlier today. Maybe it's not, the cookies aren't updated yet. But what we did is that the current layout has a lot of issues with wetlands. If you've been out in the business campus before, there's a lot of wetlands in our business campus, unfortunately. A lot of the prime parcels have already been developed on. So we have a lot of parcels where there's an island or there's kind of a cove or area. So working on defining those, we had a wetland delineation that was completed last year by, it wasn't Starzinski, it was, I can't remember the company, but really helped us redefine where those limitations are for development. And by utilizing that and laying out our properties, we're looking at there's approximately 21 buildable parcels. Now, some of those can be further divided up for smaller developments, but really trying to be able to define what the limiting factors are in our business campuses, or our business campus. We have existing property lines out there, but we own all that land. So it doesn't really matter. We can make those adjustments. We can work with the surveyor, kind of a build to suit for future development. And once we get that, we're going to be creating individual flyers similar to what you saw for the available properties, but they're going to be a little more bulky. There's a lot more consideration when we're looking at businesses. They need to know water, sewer, energy, all these different things, transportation, all these different components to it. And really my goal is to have them site selector ready so that when somebody shows up and they're interested in developing in Wausau and they give us the area, what their specifications are, we can literally turn that around in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions, comments, suggestions?
So if you do think of anything as you've kind of digesting this, things come to mind, questions or suggestions that you think of as you've read this and thinking about it, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can definitely provide some kind of answer either immediately or work on it for the September meeting. So
This will come back at the next ED meeting, is that
that is our
correct?
goal. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you don't need any, no action, you said on this one then, right? It says
No.
possible action. Okay. So agenda item then, number 7, updates. Westside Commons, 700 Grand Ave apartment, or I guess you want to do them separately.
Yeah,
huh?
I'll just do
Okay.
each of these individually.
Okay.
So first, we have Westside Commons. They're moving along quite well. They're anticipating an October completion date, so things seem to be moving along well. Their completion deadline is end of the year, but should be ahead of schedule as everything's moving forward quite well. Any questions? Hearing none, I'm gonna move on to 7B, 700 Grand Ave Apartments. They broke ground in the last 10 days or so. They've been moving through doing some excavation out there. Their groundbreaking will be on August 27th. Once that gets official and some posters on that, I'll make sure I send that out to everybody. Any questions on that? Moving on to C, Thomas Street Residential Infill and WAM Grant. We do have a signed contract from the governor in order to move forward and actually have testing completed by Ramble, who is the contracted environmental tester. I have not seen anything out there or heard from them, but was hopeful that by this time we had this meeting that there'd be something going on site, but hopefully in the next week or two, we'll see some action on that site. That's been a long ongoing process. Any questions? Well, thank you.
Okay, and then before adjournment, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I think everybody pretty well knows at this point, but this is Andrew Lynch's last meeting in all likelihood as the economic development manager for the city, even though Carol continually tries to upgrade him to director. I just want to acknowledge and thank Andy for all your contributions to the city over this time, not just with the city of Wausau, but in your previous role with the MPO in Marathon County. Andy's been with the city for over 3 years, and I think we can all agree the city is better because of Andy's work, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so then we are at agenda item number 8, adjournment. So looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, by Alder Henke and a second by, do we need a second on an adjournment? Yeah, by Alder Killian. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Randy, if you'd let me